What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Welcome back to your retro review, A Different World, season 3, episode 9. So it is midterms week. Everybody's getting ready to take their exams, and Whitley is struggling with her math midterm exam. She's studying with Dwayne, getting all the answers wrong, trying to come up with an excuse as to why she's not going to take her exam. She starts faking like she has this cold. The next day, she's got Kim, she's up in the bed acting like she's got a fever and all these different things, and she's asking Kim, please call Colonel Taylor and tell him I cannot take my math exam, because Dwayne had already let her know, listen, you've come up with a million excuses, and that is going to be that. You're going to have to take this daggone exam. And Kim is like, Whitley, listen, I'm trying to study for my own exams. Ain't nobody got time for your shenanigans. She said, listen, if you have a fever, I'll call Colonel Taylor. So, of course, Whitley pulls the oldest trick in the book. She puts the thermometer in her tea, and she has a fever of 106. And Kim is like, girl, you not just sick, you dead, okay? Now, while this is going on, the phone rings. And it's her mother calling her on Whitley's line. She said, Mom, what are you doing calling me on Whitley's phone? What's going on? And we find out that her dad has been shot. Now, this is one of those episodes that I knew was coming. I don't like this episode for obvious reasons. So, Kim immediately starts panicking. She immediately starts, with anybody. We know her dad was a cop. He got shot. Mama don't have a whole lot of answers, right? So Kim is like, I got to get to Ohio. So at first, Whitley says, well, here, girl, take my car. You can't be riding around that daggone scooter you have. Take my car. But when she sees how frazzled Kim is, she said, I'm going to go with you. She said, you pack a bag. Let me go let Walter know what's going on, and we're going to take care of it. And, Kim was, telling Whitley, I haven't talked to my dad, since the DC thing. I'm mad at him. I don't want to talk to him. And now, he's shot. And I don't know if I'm ever going to speak to him again. And, of course, those are all the guilt things that go through. And Whitley says, listen, your dad know that you love him. Like, the last situation is not going to be the determining factor in y'all's love and y'all's relationship. So she goes to the pit looking for Walter, but she runs into Dwayne. And Dwayne thinks that she's just trying to get out of taking her exam. And she says, Dwayne, listen, this is serious. Like, I'm not just trying to get out of my exam. Kim's dad has been shot. We got to go. And she says, listen, I don't think Kim is in any, right mind right now. And I don't do hospitals. It reminds me of, this moment reminded me of Mary Crosby from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, because Whitley don't do hospitals. And when they were in the hospital, she was talking about the smell and how she can't handle the smell, and the disinfectant, it just does something to her. And it just reminded me of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. But anyway, Dwayne agrees to go with them. He said, listen, we out of here. We're going. Freddie, they run into Freddie on their way out. And, of course, Whitley was like, girl, you need to stay here. And Freddie was like, no, that's my friend. I'm going with y'all. So now we got, Freddie, Kim, Dwayne, Whitley on their way to Ohio. So they're at the hospital. Kim doesn't, her dad is out of surgery, but they still won't let her see her father. And, of course, they're all like, what do you want us to do? What can we do? And Kim tells Freddie, just pray. Just pray for my dad. At this point, there's really nothing, we can do. And like I said, Whitley and Kim have the conversation, about, her dad, and that they love each other, and, it's going to be okay. We're going to keep those positive vibes. So she ends up being able to go see her dad, and they have the conversation that they need to have, he says, listen, maybe I was a little too hard on you. And she said, no, you were the father you needed to be. And he said, but you just remind me so much of myself, And, there was all loves and hugs and kisses and crying and all that good stuff. Ultimately, what we find out is that her father he got shot in the abdomen. They're worried about infection, but for right now, he's stable, but still serious condition. So, we have this moment with Freddie, because when Kim told Freddie to pray for her, you saw Freddie's face was like, okay, I can handle that. But ultimately, we see Freddie having a moment by herself, everybody's asleep and all of that, and she's talking to God. And Freddie wasn't raised religious. We know she was raised very freestyle and all of that. And she says, hey, my mom believes that you exist. My dad, not so much, but he's a good guy. And she says, I really don't know how to pray. I really don't know what prayer is, and I don't know how to pray. And so she just talks to God and says, listen, I just need you to keep him alive. I need you to save his life. Please don't let Kim's dad die. And so she says her prayer, and a little bit later on, that's when Kim comes in, gives them the good news that her dad is stable, but not out of the woods yet. And she said, let me call down to school and let Jaleesa know what's going on. So she calls Jaleesa. Her and Walter had been waiting up, but they were kind of asleep, but they were waiting up kind of thing. And she lets them know the good news. And Jaleesa is like, thank you so much. She said, I'm so happy to hear it. Um, um, Kim, don't worry about your exams. We talked to your professors. They're going to all be, they're going to, postpone your exams until you get back in school. Everybody understands what's going on. And Whitley says, well, ask them when my math exam is. And Jaleesa says, tomorrow morning when everybody else's exam is. And Whitley is like, wait a minute, what you mean? Like, didn't Colonel Taylor get the memo? I'm with Kim. And they were like, girl, you didn't put this exam off as long as you could. You need to get back down here to take this exam. So, of course, they take off. Freddie and Dwayne take off. They have this little funny interlude where they stop at like one of those all-night diners that's probably in some hole in the wall, spot, where the cook wasn't there, so they ended up getting tuna fish sandwiches on white bread. Whitley asked the man to cut off her crust, and he proceeds to pick her sandwich up and pull the crust off. It was just a fun little moment, just another one to show Whitley and her, her bouginess, right? Her bougie. Because even in the midst of all this, the man that told you he don't have no cook, and you still he told you he not going to toast your bread because he don't cook, and you still want him to cut your crust off. Girl, Whitley, girl. So they get back to school, and just enough time, of course, for Whitley to go and take her exam. And Kim comes back on campus. I guess we're fast forwarding to when Kim comes back on campus, and Freddie says something about your dad's going to be, they asked her how her dad's doing, and she said he's doing a lot better, he's doing a lot better. And she says, well, your dad's going to be walking out of that hospital, no time. And of course, Kim looks at Freddie and sort of walks off, and Whitley was like, girl, you just can't stop putting your foot in your mouth, can you? And Freddie was like, what'd I say? And we find out that there was an injury to the spine, and that it's not going to be that easy. Her father is going to have a long recovery, and at least in the immediate future, he's not going to be walking. So Freddie is having a moment. She said, well, God played a trick on me. And they were like, what are you talking about? She said, because I prayed for Kim's dad not to die. So he kept him alive, but he took his ability to walk. It's crazy. Right? It's really crazy. So Dwayne ends up talking to Freddie and, trying to talk to her about God, and that, that's not how God works. God isn't a vengeful God. God doesn't play tricks on people. And he tries to tell her a couple of stories and give her a few anecdotes. And she said, well, Dwayne, I thought you said you weren't very religious. He said, I'm not, but I grew up in church and I know God. And, and he told her the story of one year for Christmas, he wanted a basketball signed, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar signed basketball, and he ended up getting a snow jacket and a new hat. And he, of course, was mad at God. He said, I prayed and prayed and prayed. I even took the picture to church so God would get it right. And I was mad at him. And he said, but you know what? That was one of the worst winters in New York. The basketball courts were under 4 or 5 feet of snow. Everybody was getting sick and getting pneumonia. But guess what? I was good to go because I had my brand new coat and my new hat. And of course, Freddie was like, really? But he was able to get her to understand that, that's just not how God works, And so she felt better about it, at the end. But it was interesting to see Freddie dealing with her spirituality. They talked about Hinduism and other things in this episode. So that was interesting to see. But ultimately, this, again, it was a good episode, and it dealt with a lot of different issues. Like I said, you're dealing with death, you're dealing with, well, not death, but you're dealing with that guilt, you're dealing with that, what are those last conversations you had with people, right? But ultimately, that was the episode. So let me know what you guys think. Drop it in those comments. Peace.